Rob from Buckeyes Battle Cry here. Man, I was actually going to call tonight, but I was thinking more about the game today, just the excitement in the stadium, the atmosphere, the win. That was a big win for Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes. And it is a great time to be a Buckeye. Let's talk about it. So, I was pretty nervous about this game. We all know how Ryan Day is when he shows up, has the team show up against top five teams. But then, you know, as things got going and they settled in, I was just amazed because it was a big transition from those first couple of drives and then going into the second quarter. Uh, it was tied 7-7. They uh they scored one more time, 14-7. And then you had that Caleb Downs punt return. And that was the big changing point of the game. I was so excited. I was so excited to see that happen. I actually had the phone. I had my the phone on YouTube TV in the car, and I started yelling, and my wife was like, "You got to be quiet." I'm like, Caleb Down just ran it back to the house. It's a big deal. We just went up 2 touchdowns, and that was the changing point. The defense went off. They had 5, 6 sacks. They had 5, 6 sacks on Rourke. They only gave up 151 yards on defense, 68 passing, 83 rushing. And sorry, Rand City. So you said I don't want to force you off topic, but do you see what's going on, man, right now? Oklahoma, 7 minutes in the fourth. Yeah, Rand Cindy. So, I did make the call that I thought that Alabama, after those two mishaps versus Vanderbilt and Tennessee, I did think that they started playing their pretty much kind of hitting their stride. Jalen Milrow, I almost said Jalen Hurts. Though those two should not be in the same sentence. Jalen Hurts had such a better career than Jalen Milrow is having. Um, but but yeah, I thought they were hitting the stride, and then I was watching the Oklahoma Alabama game a bit, and he threw pretty much 2 pick sixes. He's lucky that that first one isn't pick six. Pretty much rookie moves, telegraph passes out into the flats. He threw it to the inside. That is such a rookie move. And I'm just like, what's going on? And here's the thing. It's Kalen DeBear's first. It's Kalen DeBear's first season, and they're already at. They're going to be at 3 losses on the season. All they had to do was win out, and they had the tiebreaker to be in the SEC championship against against Texas. And now I don't even know if they're going to win next week against Auburn after seeing this performance. Auburn balled out today. Peyton Thorne looks good. Their wide receiver looks good. I mean, it's a big rivalry next weekend. I don't even know if Alabama can get it done anymore. And so what I think we're gonna see is Rand City. You're gonna love this one. I think we're gonna see I don't know. It could be Texas, a Georgia Texas SEC championship game. But you never know. After this Alabama loss, I mean, Ole Miss is clearly out of it. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think the next team up would be Tennessee and Texas A&M. But here's the thing with that: Texas and Texas A&M play next weekend. That's going to be a big game. Uh, that is going to determine. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Texas has their spot locked up. If they lose to Texas A&M, it's not going to be a big deal. They're still going to be in it. But if Texas A&M wins, they're in it against. So you could see Texas A&M play two weekends in a row. But if Texas A&M loses, I think you'll see Tennessee take that spot in the SEC championship game. All right. Rand City, you rather see Georgia not be in it and get knocked out of the playoffs so they lose. Well, here's the thing, Rand City. If you look at Georgia's season as a whole, the only thing that's holding them back is Carson Beck. They have a really stout defense. Remember, I called it against Texas. You told me I was the GOAT for that pick. Called it against Texas. And pretty much they got it done. So they do have something good going for them, which is their defense. They have an elite defense. It's just that they're gonna have to find they're gonna have to get their quarterback. You can't have all these like tout defenses be wasted because you don't have a quarterback. Like I just don't understand it. But all right, going back to the Ohio State Indiana game. What a game called by Jim Knowles. I mean, my jaw dropped. Sack after sack on Rourke. I've never seen JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer play like that ever during their. I mean, I saw JTT once, but it's been a while. They got after Rourke. They sacked him 5 or 6 times. So did Cody Simon join the fun. Jim Knowles had they figured that out after Oregon. Remember, during the Oregon game, they had 0 sacks in that game. They did. They had 0 sacks. And ever since then, I'm pretty sure they've gotten like, I think after this game, 23, 24 sacks ever since the Oregon game. And this one, they 5 or 6. That is huge. I mean, if this continues and they've truly figured this out, I see them taking care of business with the rematch against Oregon, the Big Ten championship. I mean, they got to get past Michigan, but that's just a whole different story. But let's look at the offense as well. My MVP for this game is the O-line. Now, Oregon game, Josh Simmons went down. There was a lot of question. Mahalski went against Nebraska, was just didn't work out. But then they inserted Hinsman, kicked out Jackson to left tackle. And then you have the Penn State game where they rushed for 188 yards. Living here in ND country, you would believe they're going to the Natty. I mean, well, you talk about I think Ohio State has a great chance going to the Natty for what I've seen. But if you're talking about Notre Dame, they look like a really improved team under Marcus Freeman. They do. I really like what I saw against Navy. I mean against Army. Army has had the number. ND fans are delusional. I mean, here's the thing. They may not play in a conference, but they're in really good position to get a good seed in the college football playoff and possibly have a home game. And they look impressive. They went up against the number 1 offense in all of college football. The number 1 offense in all of college football, and they completely shut them down. Yes, in a way, ND fans are delusional, but they have a lot to look forward to. I think Marcus Freeman has a bright future there. But yeah, going back to the Ohio State Oregon game. So, offensive line, just again, Josh Simmons went down. Uh, they tried Mahalski, then they kicked out Donovan Jackson, and they inserted Hinsman, and they got 188 rushing yards against Penn State in Happy Valley, and Penn State had a top 10 rushing defense. And then all of a sudden, I think it was like Monday or Tuesday night, you hear some terrible news. Seth McLaughlin pretty much on his way to being All-American, really improved, by the way, since his time at Alabama. And you hear he tore his Achilles and he's out for the season. And just like, oh, shoot, like we're already thin as it is on the offensive line. That was the big question going into the season about what is the offensive line going to look like? Are they going to be able to spring Jenkins and Henderson? And is there going to be good pass protection for Will Howard? So it's just like they have a week to get it together. And then we hear, okay, Hinsman is going back to center. And, Severfield, I think his name's Austin Severfield. He gets it's all about next week. We better crush that team up north. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's no excuses. If now was a better time to send a message to Michigan for the last 3 years, it is now. And you know what? I hope they do. I hope they I mean, what we saw against Indiana, is Ohio State is starting to play their best football. Like, this was it. This was their big win to show, hey, this is why we belong among the elite in college football. This team is not messing around. And I hope Ryan Day sends the same message, thinks that, like, rallies the troops. I hope Sawyer and Simmons and JTT rally the troops, and they remind them of the last 3 years, all the pain, all the suffering, all the agony. Hey, this is the one team that we could not get past. They got in the way of our goals the last 3 years. Bring a home win to Columbus against Michigan, bring a Big Ten championship home, and get in the college football playoffs and win a national championship. This was the team that caused all that pain and suffering. And you know what I think is going to happen? And this is where I'm going with this. So I saw Jim Tressel at a speaking engagement, and he was talking about his first season in Columbus. And we all know what happened when he was named the head coach at the basketball game. He said, "Hey, I'm really happy to be here, ready to restore the winning tradition, and especially against that team up north. We're going to bring home a win this season." And so he got together the seniors, the upperclassmen, and they talked about, like, hey, this is it. Remember these last 3-4 years of just losing continuously in the biggest game, the biggest rivalry in all of college football. And they end up winning it. And they had a signature play where I think it was like fourth down. I think it was 4th and 1. He said it was 4th and 1. And they're like, okay, if we go for this and don't get it, we don't deserve to win. But you know what? In these games, you have to rise to big moments. And they scored from the 50-yard line. That's what needs to happen in this game. Ryan Day needs to pound out the videos this week. We're angry. This coming weekend, I got OSU 34-14. Yeah, I mean, I hope it's that big. I have confidence, but at the same time, you have to respect the biggest rivalry in all of college football. But Ryan Day has to rally the troops with this. Get all the seniors together. Have them remind each other about all the pain, the suffering, and just channel all that anger and play like they did against Indiana. And there's no doubt that they'll win as big as they did against Indiana if they play like that against Michigan. So, but O-line, definitely the MVP. They rushed. They sprung those running backs for 115 yards. And not just against any defense. Indiana had the number 2 overall defense in the country, but they had the number 1 rushing defense in the country. I mean, they had some big runs. I mean, I was impressed for the amount of time. I mean, we're not just talking about replacing just any offensive lineman. People understand that Seth McLaughlin was primed to be he was on his way to be an All-American. And, there's talk that, you know, going up to round 3, round 2 in the NFL draft from a big improvement from where he was. So they weren't just replacing anybody, an All-American. They did it. They rose to the occasion. That was the one thing I guarantee you the whole world was looking at. How is this team going to respond in the midst of adversity? And they did so. They won big. They showed determination. They showed grit. They came out. They grinded out that win. And I'm sorry, but I loved at the end. People can cry all about it. Call Will Howard classless. Call the Ohio State Buckeyes classless. But you know what, Kurt Signetti, if you want to dish it out, you gotta be able to take it. If you want to stand up at the podium and say, "Google me, I win." If you want to say, "Why would I want to go anywhere? We're the premier powerhouse in all of college football." Just all this like way too much confidence, and I just loved at the end. Will Howard act like he's smoking a cigarette. Get it, Coach Signetti. Took out a fake cigarette and just put it on the ground and stepped in and looked at him. And Coach Signetti just like, come on, man. But it's just like, again, if you want to dish it out, you got to learn to take it. So I don't want to hear anything about class. And you know what? For those of you who are wondering like what that last touchdown was about, it was a statement. It was say, hey, we're here. We're not letting up. I don't care that there's a minute left. We're going to score. We're going to win big. It's a statement win, and they did it. Ryan Day, also, he got another top 5 win. He's rewriting the narrative of himself as a head coach. There was the idea that he's sharp and soft. He can't get the big wins. He can't get the wins against the top 5 teams. He's holding this team back. He has less talent and done less. But this time around, let's be honest, he has great talent. But he's doing what he needs to do with the talent to get it where it needs to be. He's the CEO now. There's no of this, okay, to them to be the play caller, and the next time to be the head coach. He relinquished all that to Chip Kelly, his mentor back in the day. He relinquished that to Chip Kelly. Trayvon sliding for the end zone was so awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. I'm like, man, that's a really selfless dude. Hats off to him. But I was just like, there's no way that Ryan Day is gonna let this up. He wants to send a message, and he did. At the end of the day, he did. But hats off to Henderson for sliding. But yeah, Ryan Day has really improved as a head coach. We all know that a year ago or 2 years or 2021, he would have never went for it. 4th and 10 on I think it was the 40, 50-yard line. 4th and 10 had Will Howard drop back and throw an absolute bullet to Carnell Tate. I mean, that's how he's improved. He's getting more gutsy. He's making the right calls. He's remembering, okay, I lost to Michigan last season because Michigan went for it more on 4th down and the big situations, and they said, hey, you're not going to beat us. I'm going to give my guys more of an opportunity to win. And if we lose, that's fine. But at least we tried. At least I put the ball in my team's hands and let them do their thing. I mean, he's went for it on 4th down more than any time. You go back to the Oregon game. He went for it 2 or 3 times. They weren't even past midfield. Then you go to the Penn State game, the same scenario, not even past midfield, going it for 4th and short. And then this game, like I was shocked. I'm like, okay, like He's been gutsy. He's been going for it on 4th and shorts, but 4th and 10. And though it didn't pay off, it's a page turned in Ryan Day's coaching book. He always shrunk up in the big moments. And one big moment that comes to mind is actually no, there's two. It is the Georgia at the end of the Georgia game in 2022. He so after Stroud ran for 40 yards and just like, okay, we're almost at field goal range, but hey, there's like 40 seconds on the clock. Let's try to pound the ball in. Let's try to score. But no, like Ryan Day just got conservative. He didn't try to, be creative or anything. Didn't like just okay, inch here, inch there, and didn't try to get closer, and it cost them. And then you have in 2023 against Michigan, and this is like I love Ohio State, but this is when I knew the game was over. It was close to halftime. Will Howard, Kyle McCord stepped up in the pocket, uh, slung it down to Marvin Harrison Jr. and amazing catch, by the way, was being held on to by Will Johnson and caught it one handed. Like that's a dude. Like Marvin Harrison is him, and he's doing great things in the league. But and then it's just like, okay, you got 30, 40 seconds on the clock. Like, and then you get all conservative and try to run the clock out and you miss an opportunity. You don't you miss the field goal, you leave points on the field. And that game was 6-point difference. So left points of the field cost them. Maybe they wouldn't have to have that. Maybe it would have been tied at the end. They wouldn't have won to overtime. You never know. But he looks back at those moments and he's like, okay, like I know what I have to do, and he's done it. So hats off to him. And also he's learned how to be the CEO of the football team. I mean, for instance, he didn't like what he saw against Oregon. He saw that, okay, why the heck do we have all this talent on the defensive line? We have two of the top edges that were in their class in JT Malone and Jack Sawyer, but we have 0 sacks. That's a problem. So he spent the 2 weeks of the bye week with Jim Knowles and Larry Johnson. Said, hey, I don't care about your differences. This is a championship season. We have a championship team. There's no time for a pissing match. Work together, get it together. Let's get it done. And it's paid dividends. This is the most production I've seen from the edges, from the defensive line, from the linebackers getting at the quarterback. They sent so many blitz packages. I mean, there was times when, you know, or when O'Rourke like barely had time to roll out, and as soon as he did, he had like 3 or 4 defensive linemen and edges or linebackers in his face. Like incredible. People can hate on Day all they want. Day's my coach. He's done an amazing job. And the crazy thing is I get the question all the time from my Michigan friends. By the way, I born and raised in Michigan. I went to Michigan as well, but the rivalry, the hate was already ingrained since I was young. So it uh it didn't really matter. So, but I have Michigan fans ask me all the time, like, Rob, if Ohio State loses to Michigan again, like, do you fire him? I'm like, okay, like, let's look at his record. Okay, so he's beating the teams he needs to be. He has them top 5 every season. He has them in Big Ten championship contention, national championship contention, close to the playoffs, down to the wire every single year. Top 5 recruiting classes. Is there anybody who's better out there? And if not, shut up, because we're not trying to plummet the program back to the dark ages like Michigan did when they got rid of Lloyd Carr and they end up with Rich Rod and Brady Hoke. So So yeah, I mean, I think he's done an amazing job. I mean, it would just be crazy to fire him. So the question is like, what goals does he need to obtain for him to not be fired? And I think that's beat Michigan, win the Big Ten championship, um, and make a deep run playoffs. Would it be nice if they win the Natty? Absolutely. This is a really talented team. They didn't pay $20 million for nothing. So I hope that all these players who came back for one more season to beat Michigan, win the Big Ten title, and win the national championship. I hope they achieve that goal. I really do. But yeah, Ryan Day, finally the CEO, uh, helped this team get together, surround itself by the right people, and it's really showing. Ohio State is hitting their stride, and they're playing. I'd say they're playing their best college football. Another thing, ever since Ryan Day was hired, I've never seen them have like this big signature win. Not just winning, but convincingly winning. Like coming from the start and just pounding the rock down a team's throat and just letting them know you're there and not letting up. And they finally did against Indiana. This was a big statement win. It was. So, what happens now? Ohio State controls their own destiny for a shot at revenge against Oregon. Now, if you guys haven't done this yet, look at the tiebreaker for the second spot in the Big Ten championship. Because as of right now, Ohio State has it, and here's how it goes. They're going by the big thing is head-to-head matchups. So Ohio State, Penn State, and Indiana, they they like all the like Indiana does not play Penn State. Indiana, Penn State don't play Oregon. But what's in common is Indiana plays Ohio State. Penn State plays Ohio State. What has happened? They both lost to Penn State. I mean, they both lost to Ohio State. Penn State dropped one at Happy Valley against Ohio State, and Indiana. Well, obviously they just lost to Ohio State, so Ohio State gets the tiebreaker. All they have to do is beat that team up north. They got to beat Michigan. They got to get it done. They control their own destiny. Like, and what better way to do it than in the game, the biggest rivalry in all of college football? Michigan versus Ohio State. That's a really nice game to be able to clinch that spot against your rival. OSU has been top top 10 teams. Yeah, they they have beat three top 10 teams. Their biggest ones being Indiana and Penn State. To me, those are the biggest ones right now. I really want them to get their shot at Oregon again. I really want them to just take it from them. I hear from some fans saying like, "Hey, do you think we'll be ranked above Oregon since they had an off game and we continue to roll?" I'm like, no. I don't want it to be that way. I don't want to get ahead of them because they had an off game, not even playing us. I want Ohio State to take it from them. Oh, played played three top 10 teams. I want Ohio State to take it from them. I want them to get revenge, say, hey, you may have got us the first time. You may be the newcomer, but Ohio State is here to stay. And this is our conference, and we're not going anywhere. So yeah, again, they control their own destiny for that, and I really like the chances. Again, they're playing their best football. The offensive line is still intact. They got that run game going, and just their defense. They're number one in the country for a reason, and they showed today why they're number one in the country. Indiana was averaging 45.6 points per game before this. They only got to 7. I'm gonna say 7. I don't care. Like, that last touchdown, it was in garbage time. It didn't matter. Ohio State pretty much had all their backups in. So, yeah, if you wanna give them a celebratory, like, pity 8 points, then sure, go on. It didn't even look like Ohio State was trying with their backups in. It looked like they were just trying to get out of there with their big win, and they did. But all right, you guys. Well, I just wanted to do a quick post game reaction for the Ohio State Indiana game. Hats off to Ryan Day, the Ohio State Buckeyes. They played brilliant. Way to win big. Way to bring another win for the in the shoe for Columbus. And now we are officially, well, actually, no, we are officially in hate week, rivalry week. That team up north versus the Ohio State Buckeyes in the shoe. Ohio State has a chance to clinch that second spot in the Big Ten championship, to have a part two showdown. It will be a top two showdown. Oregon and Ohio State will be 1-2. All and Ohio State controls their own destiny. But they have to get past their biggest rival, that team up north. But all right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Buckeyes battle cry out. Go Bucks.